But the majority of Atlantans are really great people. They really care about each other. Our traffic sucks and everybody's pissed because of it. But the majority of people actually care about each other. And there is a sense of community in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which is hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Especially in big cities.
We are back with another episode of Media Unshackled here at MJ BizCon 2023. It is Thursday afternoon. We are wrapping up. I think it's our last one for today, and then we have a whole another set tomorrow. But we are pleased to be here with Georgia. So I know nothing about Georgia. I can barely even spell Georgia at this point in my life. So it's going to be exciting to learn what's going on there. And I want to first reintroduce Charlie, one of our hosts in training here, and one of our hosts, because DIZPO is hosting us. Right?
Thank you, Demitri.
Yes, a host within a host.
Again, I'm Charlie with DIZPO. We do custom packaging, branding, logistics. So we obviously like to engage with anybody that needs help in that realm. And if there's anything we can do for you, please let me know.
Right on.
Yeah, one of the cool things about DIZPO is they specialize in helping with those packaging nuances state by state. So they got members of their team who are can look at things and make sure that you're compliant within different states as well. You know, which is good. Do you guys do that internationally too? Does it even exist internationally? I don't know.
Basically, the far as we get is Puerto Rico at the moment. So.
Okay. Well, good. That's further. I goes there once. All right. So let's get into it. Let's first, Dustin and Matt, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got involved with cannabis, companies you work for, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin Hawksworth. I am the founder, creator, editor at large of Fat Nugs Magazine. Been doing this for a couple of years now. And we focus on really the community and culture side, the small mom and pop equity, legacy, veteran, and women-owned cannabis businesses and voices. And that's what we really focus on when it comes to telling stories, authentic journalism, and badass art. That's really what we focus on.
I've learned to love the legacy market. The deeper and deeper and longer I've been involved in cannabis, and the nuances and the regulations and the licensing, the Drug War 2.0 and Prohibition 2.0, it makes me realize that we gave away, except for the heavy hand of God, which would put everybody in jail, true freedom.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. There's good and bad with the legacy market. There always has been, right? But it's the place where everything started. It's the place where the real weed lives, to be honest with you. It's where our growers have come from. It's where most of our great growers still reside. And that's no different in Georgia, as a matter of fact.
We're going to get into Georgia here in a second. That was a nice transition. Matt. Tell us about Matt.
Yeah, hey, I'm Matt Johnson. I am a risk manager over at Assured Partners, do insurance for the cannabis industry. Worked for a large specialty cannabis insurance carrier before this and a Berkshire Hathaway company before that. Not quite as fun as running Fat Nugs Magazine, but I am lucky enough to live, 15 minutes down the street from Dustin. Yeah, I remember last year, MJ Biz, I think, wasn't that the first print edition?
It was the first print edition.
Yeah.
It's been a year since we went to print, so yeah.
Yeah, another official
awesome.
media sponsor out here with stacks of magazines disappearing on the first day. It's crazy.
Are you guys friends from before this?
Since before this actual show. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've hung out several times.
Yeah.
Well, you live down the street from one another.
Yeah, he lives about 8 miles from me, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's not that unfun. I see your socks.
Oh, yeah, man. You got it.
So if you can get away with those socks at the corporate level,
he's definitely fun.
Don't let him fool you, dude. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's fun.
And you guys live in Atlanta?
Yeah, we do.
I've been to Atlanta.
What did you think?
Most people have. At least gone through it or flown,
the airport.
Flown there.
Yep.
I'll tell you something about Atlanta. And I used to love Diet Coke, and I used to love Coca-Cola. So
Yeah.
I realized at the point when I was in Atlanta that why CNN is so misguided.
Really?
Because of certain things that CNN sees the world through lenses that the rest of us don't.
Sure.
Because of the location where they are and what happens there around that kind of thing.
So I'd push back on that. The reason they see things the way that they do is money and who controls them, right? They're not an independent media source at all.
Right.
So you'll never get a real story, the full scope of that story.
We're in agreement. There's another element as to why they're so twisted and warped in what they put on. But
yeah, Atlanta is twisted and warped.
Well, you know what?
Especially the highways.
I actually haven't really experienced much racism in my life. You know, But I saw and watched some interactions with some people at some restaurants near CNN that I was like,
Interesting.
yeah, I really
Was it Waffle
felt,
House?
I really felt like, there were some racial tones, and I could see
Sure.
where, like, all the support staff and workers within that CNN building are experiencing race relations the same
Sure.
way that is happening right there. And when I just limited my little
Yeah.
experience, I was like,
Yeah.
I get it. People can be pissed off, and
Look,
CNN seems really pissed off.
Yeah, at times.
saying?
But look, Atlanta is one of the most diverse cities we have in the country, if not the world. So you're going to get all types of people. So
Yeah.
you're going to run into some fucking assholes, for sure. We
Yeah.
always do. But the majority of Atlantans are really great people. They really care about each other. Our traffic sucks, and everybody's pissed because of it. But the majority of people actually care about each other, and there is a sense of community in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which is hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it is, especially in big cities.
Enough about that. Let's go back to cannabis industry. So, how long have you guys been? I know you've been involved in Georgia. Where is Georgia at right now? Medicinal, adult use. When did it go medicinal?
Actually, you know what? Go ahead.
All right. So in 2015, Georgia initially passed medical cannabis legislation saying, hey, we have kids here who are dying. They have epilepsy. They have cancer. They can't get any kind of treatment. They're getting treatment from out of state, going to Colorado, going to California, where people have these products. And it's time for us to put something in place. So they did that in 2015. They didn't really get a program rolling. They passed another law in 2018 doing effectively the same thing. And really, there was no meaningful progress made with the medical cannabis program until 2022. They announced their intent to award 6 licenses, 2 Tier 1, bigger facilities, 4 Tier 2, smaller facilities.
Stop right there.
All right, good.
At that point, what happened was a shit show, like it always does in every state, right?
Right.
Where everything ends up in litigation. So we have 2 operational licenses, basically, that are actually working in the state.
And who were they?
True Leave. Go ahead.
And botanical sciences.
Yeah.
Okay, and explain what that tier license looked like. Was it a vertical, all elements, or what?
They're all vertical, so a Tier 1 license entitles you to up to 100,000 square feet of canopy space. Tier 2 is 50,000 square feet of canopy space, and I believe you get 5 dispensary licenses with each.
And tier 1 got how many dispensary licenses? Oh, each.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go on. So litigation started immediately after those 2 were issued?
Protest on protest, I think somewhere north of 100 protests from people who did not get the license that they had applied for and spent tons of money on and waited a long time to hear back on. So,
Well, and think about why, right? The smaller
horse
people,
shit?
right? The people who really deserve to have these licenses
Right.
to operate in this space don't get the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
State after state. We keep
I agree
seeing
with
the
you.
same players do the same shit with our legislatures, and that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So people are pissed off. So absolutely, you should see these things, erupt in protests.
This is 2018.
Uh,
22.
22.
Just 2022?
Yes.
yeah. So having open medical cannabis dispensaries is a pretty novel thing for Georgia. We had a couple open, I think, towards the start of the year.
2. Yeah, one
Yeah.
is up by my parents, as a matter of fact, and you rode
Marietta?
by and took a picture of it.
Yeah.
It's one of the saddest things I've ever seen. It
Is
really
it a True
is.
Leaf store?
Yes, it is.
It's pretty funny. It's right next to a Planned Parenthood. And I went on the opening day, and there were just all these protesters outside. And I was like, surely Georgia is not so conservative that we have people picketing the dispensary that's opening today. This is insane. And I was right. They were picketing the Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
So
Very interesting times in Georgia, for real.
So
I'm sure they were mad about the weed, too.
what
but, yeah.
month in 2022 was that?
Oh, I want to say March.
No idea.
I'd have to check.
Yeah, and cannabis policy moves fast. So where's Georgia now?
Actually, a little bit further. Not much.
It's not that fast.
Well, the media that comes out would have you believe that it's doing fantastic things. The state of Georgia and cannabis is real, right? That's what the media would have you believe coming out, because lately we've seen a lot of articles being pushed of how cannabis is going to, Georgia's going to be the first state to allow cannabis sales in actual pharmacies, right? You've seen these things come out over the past month or so. I'm going to call what it really is. It's bullshit. But go
you
ahead.
can't walk into a CVS and
Well, we
buy
said
your
the same
tincture.
thing when we heard about
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
But here's the real market, all right? Let me tell you what Georgia really is. When we first started, I think it was somewhere around 30 or 40,000 patients.
About 2015.
What was that?
2018.
That was
So,
probably 2018, I think.
Yeah, 2015 to 2018, you could register with the Department of Public Health to get a medical marijuana card. You could have your medical marijuana card. You just had nowhere to use it.
You had nowhere to get it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows any. So this is the current market. It's a medical market, okay? But that again, I'm calling it bullshit because no one knows where to get a card. No one knows who the doctors are that they can speak to. No one knows the list of things that you're allowed to get access to cannabis for, and it's a very short list. So instead of the 30 or 40,000 that we thought we had, we just did
An audit.
an audit, and we came up with in between 13 and 14,000 in a state of 8 million people. There is no fucking market. It's a lie. It's sort of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And all the media that I keep seeing coming out, pushing how great things are going on in Georgia and how we're doing special things that no one else is doing, it's BS. It really is. It's kind of sad.
So yeah, there should be like 300, 500,000 patients.
Maybe.
Given just
At least.
Yeah. 8 million people, yeah.
Arizona's 7.8 million people. When we went from a medical to adult use, we had about 300.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same lines with
80,000.
Missouri as well. I mean, so they're right aligned with Arizona. So you
Yeah.
can imagine that Georgia would follow suit with similar sized states.
Yeah, and the dispensary thing, right? We have, what, two, I think? Two.
Out of 8 million people.
Two. But it doesn't matter. So I don't think they will ever really accept that model. I think what they're going to try and do is push it into these smaller pharmacies, these local pharmacies. I think that's really what they want to do. I think it's a terrible idea. These people aren't trained properly. I promise you.
Oh, absolutely
Doesn't matter.
not.
And of course, there's only it's oils, right? That's basically what we have, topicals and stuff like that.
So you don't even
That's
have
all.
any flour.
Oh, there's no
or-
flour.
There's no flour.
There's no.
Topicals and tinctures and
Yeah.
maybe
Topicals,
soft
tinctures.
Can't
tinctures.
burn anything in the state.
Capped at 5% THC, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane to think about, and again, they're calling this a medical market. 13 to
Well,
14,000
this was
patients.
voted in. I mean,
No.
no,
No.
it was not voted.
Yeah, everything in Georgia is backroom deals. We all know this. It's the South. There's a bunch of old white folks that are making the laws for everyone else. That's exactly what's going on. That's what we
That's
have.
the feeling I got there.
Fuck yeah, man. That's
That's
exactly
why
what it
CNN's
is.
upset.
It's exactly what.
See, you agree with me there.
Yeah, for sure.
I just really felt that.
So the stuff that has gotten voted in, that has been a positive for the state. We have seen decriminalization measures be effective in some of the larger metropolitan areas. So
Yes.
Athens, Georgia, home to UGA, Savannah, Georgia, the largest port city in the
Yes.
state, and of course Atlanta have all decriminalized cannabis. So
that's the really great thing that
Yep.
we have in the state. The one thing that I'm very proud that we have, especially because I'm in Atlanta, is we've decriminalized. So no one gives a shit. We can smoke all day long as long as you're not being an idiot, right?
Exactly.
You're not doing stupid things walking around. Just like you can't drink a beer outside in public, right?
Unless you're here.
Exactly. Unless you're in certain areas. But no one cares. So that's the really good thing. So what that has done has solidified the legacy market even further into our city, right? So everybody has access to pretty solid quality cannabis in Atlanta because we're not getting in trouble for it.
Yeah.
It's decriminalized.
Do you
Right.
see a turning point anytime soon with the direction that it's going?
I
or-
do not.
I almost think you see broader federal change before Georgia's state change comes.
Yep.
I mean, Florida almost seems like they're on the tipping point of flipping recreational,
absolutely.
which long overdue. I mean, for a state that has 170 million adult visitors every year, they're missing out on a major revenue center.
And they
from-
know it.
Oh, they know it.
Are
Yeah.
there, like,
They don't care.
What percentage of your legislature assembly? What do you guys have there? Legislature or assembly? What does matter?
We have a
Bicameral, legislature.
legislature.
What percentage is favorable towards cannabis bills and legislation that would expand the medical opportunity and
You know-
maybe even do adult use? I mean, it's like 30-70 or 40-60 or 51-49.
That's a great question, man.
Oh.
I think it's probably a lot less
Yeah.
than what we would tend to believe. I think there are things going on in the state that are forcing the hands of certain people, but that's also why you're seeing everything being slow played, right? We're doing our best. We're trying our best, and then we're going to push this media out. It makes it look that we're doing great things, right? Nothing is happening. It's just very, very slow. So that's what's going on. I think that means we probably have less than 30% of the legislature that actually supports cannabis.
Yeah.
So there should probably be a story done about the access and availability of all these California brands, all these brands from Colorado
what you're
throughout
seeing-
Atlanta.
That's
and-
not even the case, though. That's not the case. You see more local.
Yeah.
local-
We have a lot of
okay.
legacy growers in Georgia. People
Okay.
don't realize that.
Yeah.
If you can know you're a grower in Georgia,
You're fine.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I bet the police has a lot of statistics on this as to what they confiscate. Right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I would assume so.
Yeah, that would actually give some information to the politicians.
But you have to remember, since it's decriminalized in the city, they don't really focus on it. They don't.
Do they bust
No.
small
now,
commercial operations?
That's a good question. That would be a question
if
for
they
We
Mel.
don't see a lot of headlines about it. I
Yeah,
mean,
we
you'll
don't.
you'll hear one or two every now and again, and if it's usually when they're in the heavier drugs and they also have
That
cannabis on
associated
hand.
with cannabis.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts in Atlanta, right? You've got billboards on the MARTA bus stations for Narcan and opioid overdose,
Right.
countermeasures and things like that. And
Yep.
we know there's a safer alternative out there. We've acknowledged that in law for 8 years as a state, and we still have virtually zero patient access. We're saying 14,000 patients out of 8 million people.
It's
Insane.
ridiculous.
Business
So-
opportunity for our freedom-loving audience. Atlanta, take a station wagon, set up shop, just open up your trunk or whatever that's called and sell out of the back of it.
There you
Don't
go.
use DIZPO packaging.
You'd have to have EIN.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get them in trouble, but it's an opportunity. I'm a free market guy. The nonsense and the bullshit and the horse shit of all these regulations.
Yeah, the extra taxes, the
It's
nonsense
just
is ridiculous.
Ridiculous
Yeah.
how it's unraveling. And the most important aspect of it that I think is ridiculous is licensing caps.
Oh, yeah.
The cap aspect. I get.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'll compromise with the regulations and the funny packaging rules and the funny testing rules. I'll compromise
Sure.
with all that. But the caps kill me
Sure. Well, that's when you
because
get
that's what really
companies.
crushes people.
Well, yeah, because that's you give companies an entire state market. That's
Yeah.
not fair. It's the worst thing that we could ever happen to cannabis.
Right.
The worst thing you could ever have
Right.
is for corporate cannabis to take over, and that's all you get.
And then that's because of the caps, the regulations and all this other stuff. It's okay to say, hey, son, you've been growing illegally. Now shape up, pay your taxes, get your zoning. There's a process you have to go through,
But give them that
and
opportunity.
then you can get it. Yeah, but it's the caps that stops them from even having the opportunity to get there. That's why I constantly tell people that caps, the concept of licensing caps, not just in cannabis but in any industry, is the devil incarnate,
Yeah.
alive in America today in the cannabis industry.
No, I'm going to have to contradict that for a moment here.
Oh, I like this. I'm
As
challenged.
a free market guy, I literally founded a capitalist club at my high school.
Nice.
That's the nerdy thing. I'm wearing a bow tie. I can do it, and
that
you believe
scares
me.
me.
Game on, Eric.
Yeah.
But you got the
Scares-
socks,
let's go,
though,
let's go.
man.
Yeah, I got the cool side, sure.
Let's go.
Oh, okay. So which state has probably the worst
Virginia.
reputation as a medical cannabis marketplace?
Virginia.
Well,
A surprisingly Republican
pick it.
state, no license caps, Oklahoma.
Oh, yes.
That was
Right?
my second.
$2,000 to get a license. There was virtually no
No
regulation on it for
regulation
years.
at all.
It can be done better.
No, go on.
I don't think that went so well. So in the early phases here, ultimately, yes, free market,
Right.
interstate commerce, let the cream rise to the top. I think that's how it should be. Starting out early, certainly you don't only want 6 operators in a state. That's very restrictive, especially for a substantial population of 8 million. You also don't want to limit home grow and people's ability to provide their own medicine, right? But I do think when it's going to be regulated, everything's going to be lab tested. They're going to have to be these checks and quality controls and
Right.
some degree of regulatory oversight. You don't want to have that Wild West Oklahoma mistake of
Sure.
giving
Smoke
out
Oklahoma.
8,000.
But it's not a mistake, though. It's not a mistake because you said worst reputation. Worst reputation according to who?
Yeah, it's an
And whose agenda?
Sure.
And whose idea of what is best and worst are you looking at? A lot of people are complaining because it was hard for them to succeed. But guess what? They're losers. And as Donald Trump says, we don't like
about to say.
losers. And there will always be losers. That's
Sure.
capitalism. That's
Sure.
the free market. I mean, that's what needs to happen. And
Let's put free in quotes. We all know that.
Yes,
and
please.
here's the thing. I agree with you. It costs a lot, okay? It costs a lot to do the compliance, to do the cameras, to do the testing and all that.
Shouldn't.
But guess what? We're at Thanksgiving dinner, okay? And I'm your 18-year-old son, and you're talking to me. What do you want to tell me? Son, here's the reality of life, okay? You need skills, you need money, you need skills, you need to abide by the rules, and then you can participate, get in there, participate, and abide by the rules. Or, son, you need skills, you need to abide by the rules. But by the way, I happen to vote for and support a government that created licensing caps, so there's no way you can get past that barrier,
Yeah,
son.
no doubt.
So go work for somebody who's going to always be your boss. Go learn about the cultivations, the manufacturing, and the retail activity within there. Become an expert, and guess what? Then you'll have skills, and you still can't get past that barrier that the government created.
Yeah.
Licensing caps are as atrocious as anything that existed in the principalities
Yeah.
and the kingdoms of the 17th century.
With you.
And America was based and created on the idea that we needed to get rid of caps. They had big caps called England, big cap called France,
Yeah.
big cap called Spain,
Yeah.
little cap called Luxembourg. That was the guy who didn't like France and England and went
all
over
the
there and
banking.
said, I'm going to call you motherfuckers out and start a revolution in the 16th century.
No doubt.
I'm enlightened in the 15th century,
Yeah.
and if you motherfuckers don't give me my own principality, well, I'm going to bring the whole fucking thing down.
Well, it's about control, right?
But
That's
yeah,
what it is.
It's about
It
control
always
and
is.
power. And that
Yeah.
guy, he got Luxembourg, and then he got Monaco because they were smart enough to, wake up. The Enlightenment
100%.
probably happened. The Revolution probably happened before we were even aware of it. History has no idea what they're talking about. I do. Anyways, so I promise you I'm right on this. And I'm figuring it out every day. It's lovely. I love you, man. So you got me all stirred up.
All right.
I like it.
Okay, so let's go. Let's
I'll
play.
cede and say on the national level, assume perfect competition exists. Assume you have no licensing caps. You have a true free marketplace. I think that works at a federal level and ideally at an international level if you can do it. On the state level, given the high cost of compliance, we're just talking about cameras, regulations, packaging, everything that goes into it. I think there's some argument it's beneficial as the market starts out. Now you get to a state like California that's got 40 million people, 42 million people, right? It's bigger than Canada. I think that's a pretty good.
But the high cost
the
of-
winners win, the losers
But the
lose.
high cost of compliance. So both Charlie and I want to start a business over there and say there's a really high cost of compliance. And Charlie says, I'm going to go to my rich uncle and get that, and then I'm going to do it. And I'm going to say, well, I don't have the money, so I'm not going to do it. That's
So what's the moral here? Have a rich uncle, right?
Yeah, but I have a problem with
God,
that
I need one of
approach.
those.
I got a problem with that approach as well because it shouldn't cost me a boatload of fucking money to be able to sell weed.
And I'm with
Agreed.
you. And
yeah,
I'm with you.
hugely agreed.
Yeah, but if you think it's better on the federal side, so if you're kind of more rooting for federal legalization, correct?
Deschedule it entirely, yeah.
But what do you think happens to the legacy
Thank you.
growers after it goes federally legal, and then all you have is MSOs running this?
It's a good question.
Yeah, which we don't want ever.
Exactly, because that's exactly what is going to happen. The legacy grower is going to go the way of the dodo bird.
Well, I still don't. I don't think that'll ever happen. I really don't. Just based on quality alone. Yeah, sure. I think you're always going to have the Walmarts of weed, right? I think you're always going to have that, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
The cannabis community and the cannabis culture and the cannabis consumer is too smart to let that happen.
100%. Because what happens
what I
is
found.
the first time you get burned by going into one of those shops, and I promise you, you will get burned when you
Yes.
go into one of those shops. That's when you immediately go, "Fuck that! Where's my grower?
Yeah, where's my
plug?
where's my
Where's
guy?"
the dude that I used to
Yeah.
call?" I promise you, that's just fucking what happens.
And exactly that, given the intelligence of the patient, the consumer, and the fact that they want different choices, different things, they understand cannabis to be unique. It's not toilet paper, so it's not like anyone can
It's
produce
not
it. It's
a
all going to be the
CPG.
same. It's going to be more like, onions, where my grandmother deep in the mountains of Oaxaca grew these scallions
Yes.
that were utilized in New York restaurants because they were special scallions. I didn't find them too unique, but somebody who liked scallions did.
Yeah.
And she grew scallions. Guess what? They grow hundreds of millions of pounds of scallions in California. But yet my grandmother's Oaxacan scallions, which cost a tiny bit more,
Yeah.
were somehow special and wanted by some restaurateurs in New York.
There you go.
That's
Quality.
That's what it will get to.
Yeah.
Even though I don't
Well,
give a shit about onions.
Here's the other problem with having MSOs or
You like me,
corporate
don't you?
cannabis takeover
Yeah, dude, Oaxacan
is
cuisine is
we
incredible.
won't have
you
home
grew up.
grow.
You're loving me now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We won't have home grow. We won't have caregiver rights, right? If MSOs and corporate cannabis have
they're
their
gonna
way,
change
They're
it.
lobbyists.
they'll
have their
take
away.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They'll take it all
absolutely.
away. And that's one thing that, and I know that limiting licenses is your thing. The lobbying against homegrown and caregiver rights burns my fucking ass so bad I can't stand it. And I refuse to work with any company that has ever been
It's interwoven.
associated with it.
It's the same theme. I agree with you on that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that doesn't chap my hide as much as the licensing caps does.
Yeah.
You know.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Fair
because
enough.
not everyone wants to grow their own. It's just a right that you should have.
I should
You
absolutely.
absolutely be able to grow
You
your
can
own.
buy
100%.
tomatoes in a Publix. You don't have to do that, though. You can grow
It's
your own
not.
seeds
Look,
at
it's
home.
not legal without home grow.
Well, here's
Yeah.
here's the thing.
Agreed.
It's a commodity that I get to buy from you. It's not legal.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But if you had no licensing caps, in theory, a home grower could get some sort of small permit. Not that we want to have that happen.
We shouldn't even have a fucking.
I-
Why do
I
I
hear
need
you.
a permit to grow tomatoes, broccoli,
Well,
anything else?
Devil's advocate here,
You're right.
tobacco.
Yeah.
There's only 4 states that allow home grow for tobacco. So there is some argument if you really view it as a controlled substance. Again, tobacco, we know statistically kills millions and millions more
Sure.
people than cannabis ever has or ever will.
I never thought I'd be the pragmatic one here on Unshackled today. You know what I'm saying? I'm like the free market guy talking to a bunch of people who are like accepting this regulatory structure the way it is.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. You're not wrong. No, I love it. This has been a great one. This has been fantastic.
Hell yeah.
And I'm glad that you guys are involved in Georgia because you guys are thinking through these things, and hopefully your voice will be heard as it expands and expands and expands, right?
They'll hear us whether or not they do anything about it.
Yeah.
Just keep
that's the
talking,
real
keep
question.
writing stories. Write an article,
yeah.
write an
Hey.
article about me. I'm an ex-prosecutor advocating. I'm a great voice. I reason with a lot of libertarian, Republican-minded individuals because
Okay.
that's the perspective I come from. And
A lot of
can we keep Georgia red?
Georgia's blue right now.
Is it
Atlanta's blue.
Purple.
The rest
We're
of Georgia's
blue.
red.
Georgia itself
Yeah.
is purple, but the Atlanta is definitely
Yeah,
blue.
except for cannabis policy. Anyways, but go ahead.
No, I mean, that's it. Hey, on onions, though, you come down, we'll get you a nice box of Vidalia
Some
onions,
Vidalias.
all right? Yeah.
See?
I'll treat you right. I'll trade you some Oaxacan
He's all ready
scallions,
for the
yeah.
onions.
yeah, I'll take some Oaxacans.
So,
Yeah.
so you're
I'll
like
take some of them as well.
an onion connoisseur?
My family has done some farming in the state.
you
We
go.
love some good Southern food.
The cannabis gods told me how to get to his heart.
There you go.
He's closer to us now.
It worked.
And we all need to come more over to you.
Oh, and you know, don't think he's such a corporate cannabis fan, even though he's in that space 100%. He also supports the people that got us here.
Yeah.
He really does. I know Matt. He supports the people that got us here. He supports the legacy market. He wants people to be a part of cannabis that belong to cannabis and have always been a part of cannabis, right? So he understands.
With enough reflection, they will all come over. You know
I agree.
what I'm saying?
Eventually.
I mean, there's some people,
Hopefully.
When the old heads get out.
You know, some people are still over there in England and France and Germany.
100%.
I would flip my shit if I had like an English citizenship or French. I mean, like the concept that you even have a group, a family that's royal. I mean,
It's weird.
unfortunately, they've unraveled lots of it.
Yeah.
But it's never really unraveled. And maybe even in the United States, we haven't gone far enough to unravel that individual
We have not.
spirit and that freedom that we need to get to. But cannabis is making a mistake, big mistake, across the board, across the country, state by state.
It's
And
not
let's-
cannabis, though. It's
Agreed.
you know, it's
We
not.
know
it's-
where it
it's
is.
not-
We all
we
know
all
what
know
it
where
is.
the issue is.
And you want to hear a fucked up thing? About 30, 40 years from now, people are going to reflect and look at all these state-by-state, interstate markets and look at this disaster and this nuances and
Yep.
this stuff that discredited government because there was ridiculous policies and regulations, and they're going to blame the cannabis community. But it's not us.
Yeah.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I
Well,
always...
that's where the education comes from.
Right. It's not, and they're going to blame the cannabis plant. They're going to say all this nonsense happened because everybody was stoned.
No.
That's
Yeah.
not why it
No.
happened.
Sure.
All this nonsense happens because people were asleep, they were inadvertently ignorant, or they
Yes.
were greedy. And that's
And
why
lazy.
and lazy. Laziness is what happened.
100%.
I love you guys. I'm a big fan of Georgia now, but I'm still not a big fan of CNN. Charles.
Same.
Same here.
All right. All right.
Hey, we've got better media in Atlanta.
Yeah, independent
I'll tell you
media.
what, yeah.
Independent media right here.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I'll take you guys off the list. there's a list. Timothy McVeigh. I'm just kidding. Take that back. Cut that out. This has been another episode of Meat Unshackled.
Hell yeah.